Welcome to Connected Conversations. I'm really grateful that you're here and sharing your time. If you like the conversation that you hear, please like it and share. I'm Emma from Unique Phoenix. I'm a soul coach, energy healer, well-being guide, and an unapologetic, curious soul. Connected Conversations is here to bring love, healing, and connection to our everyday lives through open and authentic conversations. Every single conversation, I'm privileged to interview women and men in our communities that are here being their authentic selves, sharing their unique talents with the world around them. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we can get to know them and what they offer much better.
Hi, my name's Amanda Kate, and I am a kinesiologist, an archetypal life coach, a mother, a mentor, and a lot more than that. I have been on this journey now for probably around 11 years. And I work with clients who are in all sorts of stages of their life. So I work with people who are getting their spiritual calling, who are stuck in their lives and wondering what else is out there. I work with people who are working on their business and wanting to increase their vibration and their ascension frequencies to welcome in more abundance in their life. I am a recovering people pleaser and self-flagellator. I have spent many years hating myself and welcoming in all the negative stuff that we all deal with. And now I daily do self-love practices, abundance practices, and I look after myself at a really cellular level to make sure I am living the life of abundance, of love, of connection, and of raising the vibration of the world so that we can all achieve our greatness. I figure that the raising tide raises all of the boats, and the more I can help other people to come into themselves, to connect into their heart and soul and their true life purpose, and to spread love in the world, then the better off we're going to all be. It's like that drop in the ocean or the stone in the pond that sends ripples out into the world. And every person that I touch, I hope I send out into the world to touch another 10 or 20 or 30.
Hey guys, welcome to Connected Conversations. I'm Emma and this is Amanda. I'm pretty excited to be in person today. And Connected Conversations, as we've already spoken about, is about bringing love, healing, connection through everyday life in an authentic conversation. And I've known Amanda for a while now through our business connections, and we're very like-minded and very open-hearted, which is beautiful to be energetically around. Who knows where this is going to go? I mean, really, it could go anywhere. I have got some, look, I'm keeping myself in check here by doing questions, and I'm going to stop referencing visual stuff because this is a podcast as well, and I'm just getting used to it. There you go. Look, complete honesty from me about where we're at. But we are in person today, so hopefully you can feel that even when you're listening as well. Amanda is a kinesiologist, a healer, a coach, an author, and I'm not even capturing the whole thing here, people. I'm just giving you a snapshot. But we've spent time together, and every single time I walk away not only inspired but energized as well, because we have such a deep spiritual connection that's well beyond the time we've actually spent together. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so glad we could do this in person. It makes such a huge difference. As soon as that was on the table, it was I have to do this.
Well, and I give people the option for everyone listening, because some just can't get here. And so, but Amanda immediately came back to me and went, no, we're doing this in person. And I was like, boom, I love in person. There is something really different about it when it happens as well.
Definitely.
So I want to do some really kind of fundamental questions about what you do.
Absolutely.
Because I know a lot of people watching and listening may not even know. I mean, I'm still, because I've been around it for such a long time, when I say to people, oh, you know, I was going to go to my kinesiologist, I still get those sort of weird like looks of, you know, like they don't know what it is. So
Yeah.
what is kinesiology?
I think this is one of those things. I started learning in 2015, and I've been working in it now in my own business for over 5 years. And it is probably the hardest question I have to answer. As much as I know what it is and I do it every day, it can be a really challenging one because it encompasses so much. And part of the reason I guess it drew me in was because it looks at a lot of the Western science aspects as well as the Eastern aspects. And so you're kind of taking the best of both worlds and you're looking at the body as this whole being. So one of the things I love about it, I do get a bit geeky, is that quantum physics has proven that the universe is only 4% physical matter. So when anyone walks into my clinic or I connect with them over, you know, the internet, their physical meat suit, their body, is 4% of the picture. And most people who come to me originally find me as their last resort. And then the longer they've seen me, I kind of, you know, jump up the list a bit until I'm the first person that they're coming to. But when you think of that meat suit as 4%, that is what most therapists, most doctors, most people in that sort of more Western patriarchal model tend to look at is, you know, what symptoms are you suffering with or are you experiencing, and how do we get rid of those symptoms? Whereas when you walk in, the meat suit matters, but it's not a big part of the picture. I want to know your emotional, energetic, spiritual, transformational health, your financial health, your relational health, you know, and on it goes, how you're doing mentally, how your, you know, connections are going. I want to know all of those parts as well, because it all feeds into the physical body. And what we do in kinesiology is we understand that the body has an innate way of healing itself. It knows what to do. So for example, with cancer is the body collecting up all of these cells that aren't doing what they're supposed to doing and encapsulating them in a tumor. It's its way of trying to heal itself. So in that sense, that's actually a really clever thing to do. And the body knows what it needs to do. Oh, these things don't really belong. But what happens is we ignore all of the signals. We ignore what's going on because life is busy and we're not really taught to honor our bodily experience, our bodily feelings, what's going on under the surface. We're taught to soldier on. I mean, for some reason, this Codra lad keeps coming back to me, you know, soldier on. It's take a couple of pills and get back to work and take a couple of pills and get on with life. And I think we've forgotten how to look after people who are unwell, and we've forgotten to listen to the signs and signals our body's giving us to say something's not right here. And whether it be a physical thing like a cold or, you know, obviously at the moment the C word, or whether it be something a little bit
So because I asked my daughter one day what she thought the C word was and she goes, cute. And I was like, sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll use that one. You know, but whether we're, you know, and I'll use it COVID, or whether we've got a cold or whether we've got the flu or whether we're, you know, suffering with our mental illness, we're not listening to the signs that are coming in underneath. So oftentimes these are things that have started years before that are just coming into physical manifestation. And that's what I'm looking for. So most therapists will work with symptoms and trying to relieve symptoms. I want to know what's causing the symptoms that you are dealing with in your body. And so I want to get from your presentation to your root cause as quickly as I can and clean up anything that's sitting there on the way back. So every issue is almost like a diamond where the top half is your symptomology and the bottom half are your root causes. And I want to get from the tip of the diamond to the bottom tip of the diamond as fast as possible, pull it out by the root, and then do any cleaning up work that we need to do. So it's kind of the easiest way. I know that was a really lengthy description and there's probably plenty of easier ways to describe it, but it is so challenging because one thing that might be, you know, we think is a root cause is not. And sometimes that root cause might be something completely crazy. I've taken people back to instances in the classroom where they've been shamed, or, or these times in childhood where they've fallen over and not been picked up and given love, but been told to get up and dust off and, soldier on with it. And that has started these downward spirals in terms of, the stories that they're telling themselves, their belief systems, and therefore how they're treating themselves, how they're interacting with the world around them. And it becomes this big tsunami of negative influence under the surface that is creating current day manifestations in the physical
100%.
form. And so that's why it can be really complicated to explain it so quickly, what I do, because it's bringing in so many different elements from so many different parts of people's lives that are feeding in.
Yeah. And you say core, and I can tell you, being in the soul coaching work that I do, people shit themselves. They literally, because holy shit, if you get to the core, then that's a root cause. And, I do that in my work. Like when I do soul coaching, it's literally just, I want to go from what is the story that you're telling me, the surface stuff, and I want to get right underneath it. Because I want to go to because it's all very simple when you get to it. It's very simple, and not necessarily easily dealt with, because you got to feel all of that, and that's deeply uncomfortable. But so, when we talk about missing physical cues, what can be, because I know for my clients, they can say to me, my elbow's a little bit sore. And for me, I know how that manifests through not reaching out. It's about support. It's about, depending on which side of the body it's on, all that kind of stuff. So, when I'm working with them, it's like, beautiful. I can go, hey, let's have a talk about this today.
Yeah.
And we get to the end of it, and we'll get to the next session. They're like, it doesn't hurt anymore. And I'm like, because we'll get it when it's a niggle.
Yeah.
So what are some pretty standard physical cues that you might see?
The big one is back pain. I mean, who hasn't had back and neck pain? And especially at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of that because the ground has been moving for the last 2 years with, rules changing and, rules not making sense. And that stability, the safety, the security isn't there for people. Yeah. And so people are struggling to ground. So everyone's almost like they've had literally the rug pulled out from under their feet, which is creating a lot of instability through the hips, which is our foundational center. And therefore we're getting a lot of knee pain, foot pain, neck pain, shoulder pain coming from the hips. And so that's one of the massive ones I'm seeing at the moment. And actually, if you imagine, a cardboard cutout of yourself, a lot of people's feet at the moment are where their knees are, or sometimes even higher. It's like their energy is so ungrounded that half of the session can sometimes just be bringing them back into their body. And getting them back into presence, so that's a really big one. Nerve pain is huge at the moment, and I'm dealing with a lot of adrenal responses. But it's going deeper than a normal fight and flight. It's going into the real vagal nerve responses, which are primitive, foundational, not feeling safe, not feeling protected, not feeling sure, not feeling certain, and going into a really deep freeze mode or fragmentation mode, which is where people are falling apart. And so it's trying to reprogram their nervous system so that they've got a little bit more tolerance. So we're sort of trying to buy back percentage points in their tolerance level, because at the moment, before COVID, we had quite a big tolerance level to the shit that was going on around us in life.
Yeah.
And what's happened is, with 2 years of fear and division and segregation and hatred in the community and in the news that has been driven, we're down to tiny quantities of tolerance. So the small things are pushing us into overwhelm. And what that squashing of our tolerance levels is doing is keeping us on high alert for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So people aren't able to relax their nervous system and get into a place where they're feeling safe. And that's one of the other big things that we're seeing at the moment, is a lot of nervous system, and it's putting in the the tiny base steps that, you know, I was working with some people on 4 or 5 years ago when I first started, and we're now going back to basics, because it's like we're having to rebuild our foundations because they've been shaken to literally the core.
100%.
And we're all standing on shaly ground instead of firm foundations at the moment. And so I'm really helping people get back to those basics, to ground their energy, center themselves, and actually get back into their body again, remembering that it's safe to be in our body and that it's okay.
Yeah, because I agree. What's been presented to us is that it's not safe to be in our body, and we don't know our bodies, and we don't know what's good for us. And so people have definitely forgotten what is good. And that's, you know, as a human being, one of our biggest, you know, there's some really primary needs, and safety and security. And I don't mean, when I say it externally, I mean having trust of oneself and of one's body, mind, body, soul. Like, that's actually a need. It's not even like, oh, that'd be really nice to have, that'd be so amazing. No. That's actually a primary need in our lives. And when that's gone, and I don't know about you, but I was rocked a little bit at the start of it. For me, like, lots of things rocked my world, and I'm grateful for it happening, because it's allowed me to go deeper and to see what else is in there I've got to deal with and move through and feel deeply uncomfortable. However, that's, you know, it's so much better. And so when we talk about, okay, so they're the physical cues that can manifest, and I agree with you. I speak to a lot of clients that get uncomfortable in their hips, their relationship centers. We hold so much there. They're the relationship between, you know, connecting and grounding below and above. And, you know, it's basically, and particularly for women, it's a real balance point for us. If that's not balanced, and that can be hormonally or, you know, physically itself. I can't even tell you how many times I've had my hips adjusted and not by a chiropractor or anything, by a kinesiologist, by a bone therapist, and lots of other I mean, look, my deepest want, and I'm sure you're with me, Kate, is that our health system needs to change, because we need to honor science-based modalities such as kinesiology, because they are science-based. This isn't like fish slapping people. No. This is actually science-based. And when you go to a kinesiologist and receive treatment, I have for years, you can see that they're basing it on the human body, and there's biology. It is definitely, and I loved how you said that before, it's the definite mix between Western and Eastern, and it's this beautiful balance in the middle of it all. But, you know, there's some interesting stuff when you go there, and it always surprises me sometimes, the things that come up, and I go, didn't know that was there.
I know.
And, you know, for kids today, I think if you're a parent listening to this, find one. Find one around you. For teens, and, you know, allow your younger kids to be introduced to the idea, because when we go to the core of things, you know, like, what happens is, and I know you're with me on this, Amanda, is that when you get to the core of something, you're less impacted by the surface stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And it's reconnecting people to that core, where they know they are safe, where they know they can trust themselves, where they know they're going to make the right choices for themselves. And that changes everything. The second you've got that access to that God source part of you that is pure peace, pure love, pure connection, pure, you know, joy, even when things are tumultuous outside, you've still got that anchor, something to hold on to. And I can tell you, know, the last 2 years I have been to some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows. And I thought before this I'd hit rock bottom a few times. There was one time last year I was literally praying for God to take me home. I was ready to go. I was done with it all. I'm like, not again. I'm not doing this again. And I remember actually saying to him, you either make me Jesus and I start creating shit out of nothing, or you fucking take me home. And I literally was sitting there screaming at God, telling him, you better make something special in my life, or you better take me home, because I'm done with this shit. And it's, I've had some hands and knees no moments. And but it was breaking down to that moment of just pure surrender and knowing that once I hit that core, there was this massive peace that came over me. And in the last, that was, I think, at the end of July or August last year, sometime like that. I started cold water swimming at that point in time because I just needed to really reconnect back into my body. I knew obviously something was going on. Because I'd never gotten to that point before. Okay. And my kinesiologist said to me, it's the closest you're going to get to a near-death experience. That was your equivalent. And it was breaking me back to that fundamental part of me. And even with all of the challenges and tumultuousness I've been through since then, I'm dealing with it all in such a different way. It's all just so much calmer and more peaceful, even though it's hard and it's heartbreaking. There's this peace and calmness underneath it that I've never experienced before. And so it's like I needed that breakdown to break through.
Oh, yeah.
And oftentimes, I say the same thing to my clients when, the snotty tears do come. I'm like, this is breaking through those layers that you need to break through to get to the next point of ascension and vibrational frequency change.
100%. I absolutely agree with you. I've definitely had times in the past couple of years, hands and knees, crying, and just like, you're going to have to show me what the fuck. Because I'm not picking up what you're putting down right now.
I know.
And then once you're through the other side of it, like you, there's an experience of, it hasn't been sunshine and moonbeams, and nor do I want it to be either. I don't, because I didn't come here for a boring ass life.
No.
I came here to be curious and to learn and to grow and to have a good time and to be
feel
mischievous and I love all the feelings. I'm all for the feels. I mean, that's one of my areas.
Exactly.
Absolutely, I'm all for the feels. But I get that though, those moments that you just think, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you know what? And that's probably my biggest breakthrough is getting to the I don't know and being comfortably uncomfortable in it.
Yeah.
Like deeply going, I actually don't know how this is going to roll out, but you know what? I'm in it now. I'm going to roll with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And I think that's it. It's becoming certain with the uncertainty. Most people live their life wanting certainty. They want that certain paycheck. They want that certainty of relationship. They want that certainty with where they're living. And they want certainty in every area of their life. And actually the only thing, and it's been proven time and time again this last couple of years, the only thing that's certain in life is uncertainty.
100%.
And when we get comfortable with that, our entire life changes. I mean, I know doing what I do for a living, I'm never sure what's coming in every month and what's going out every month. I kind of know what's going out every month, but for the most part, I have no clue. And there have been months I'm like, well, I don't know, I'm going to make rent this month. And then all of a sudden something will happen and, I don't know why I worry about that stuff. It's all being looked after and I'm fine. And the more I've relaxed into it, and my partner will tell you, we've been together 3.5 years roughly. And he was, he's seen it from that first few months or 6 months or whatever it was of getting, being together, and I'd have a cancellation and I'd stress out, and then I'd get, a few book in and I'd get excited, and then a couple of drop off and I'd, panic again. And he's like, you just don't do that anymore. Like, because I've learned to trust it. I've learned to trust the uncertainty, and that the uncertainty is just leading me the way I need to go.
Yeah.
And the more I've lent into that uncertainty, the easier it's become. Now, yes, this last couple of years has tested me as it's tested everybody else. And that uncertainty at times has been, that bit that drags you to your knees and you're just going, what the hell? Seriously, am I here doing this again? And then there's something beautiful that's come out of it. I've built an incredible community through this time. I have, I wrote a book in 120 days, from first words to having the shipment of books in my hands. Like, I mean, my partner's still just going, oh, I can't believe you just did that, and I'm like, in some ways, neither can I. But there's been magic come out of it as well. And I think this is the thing, when we can recognize that magic, and recognize the uncertainty and kind of be okay that they're both going to be there at the same time.
Yeah.
And that the more we surrender into it, and I'm not talking surrender as in giving up and, you know, throwing your hands up in the air, but surrendering with the faith that you are being held by something greater than you, and trusting in that and honoring that and knowing that you are being looked after however you need to be looked after is such an incredible feeling.
Yes, I've definitely handed over at times things that I couldn't possibly have figured out. I could not have figured out how it was all going to roll out, and I literally hands and knees, just like, I'm handing this over.
Yep.
And you know, within days, I think most of the time that's happened, within days, I've received an answer, and I'm like, woo! I could not have planned that shit.
Yeah.
Like, and I was literally like a little, because I'm very much in my inner child a lot of the time. And I'm like, and I literally look at myself and I have conversations like this that goes, did you just see that? My God, you couldn't have even planned it. And the other one's like, well, we kind of knew this was going to happen. My little soul's like, we knew that. Personality's like, oh my God, like, what just happened?
Oh, 100%. The right person comes in for the conversation, or the right healer comes in that you just happen to book a session with, or the right podcast comes your way, or the right book, or the right something will happen, and you're like, oh, that's why I did that, or that's why I've gone through that, or that's why that happened. And you get those answers, and or you know, you'll overhear words in a song, or it'll be something crazy that catches your eye, and you just go, oh, it's bigger than me.
Yes. When your world is revolving on an internal axis, it really shifts everything.
It does.
Because you're not trying to shift based on what's around you anymore. You're internally, and I love that, like learning that around 20 years ago, and shitty at practicing it. I'm not saying I was very good, but
we can know this stuff.
I know, but we won't even know it. There's a difference, you know, like it goes into your body, and somehow your body just goes, oh, we got it now.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing about going within and reflecting.
Yeah.
You know, whatever's happening around you, what is it you don't like, reflect, because it's only a mirror to you, and then go within and figure out how you change that shit.
Yeah.
And like, woo! Really bad at it, totally ignored it, avoided it, because it's hard.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
It is hard work. But that moment alone, I can still remember being at a conference and just being like, my whole body energy shifting and thinking, that's important for you to note.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that now.
No.
And I think that's what you're talking about. Well, I feel like, and you're talking about physical cues, we can get them when it's important information as well. And I've come to understand. I want to ask you this, right? I'm going off. we knew this was going to happen. So I've been really coming to the point with it, because I see a lot of people around anxiety. And also change language around it, like it's not yours, it's no, you don't own anxiety, nor do you own depression.
Yeah.
I want to say to you, this is my personal experience. When something is so wrong that's around me, or it's like I've got a constructed feeling within me, or my client, that's a marker for me now to go, if this is showing up, if I've got a level of anxiety, I'm either in the wrong place, I'm around the wrong people, or I am thinking some really not right stuff.
Yeah.
So which one is it? And I've worked through clients with that, and it's amazing how they come out the other side and go, so anxiety is showing me where not to be, what not to do, what not to think. Yes!
Yeah.
Because it's your body's innate wisdom going, we're just letting you know we're rocking our world at the moment and we don't like it.
Yeah. And anxiety is being stuck in the future. Depression is being stuck in the past. And so, and this is where a lot of people have trouble being present anyway, because, well, there's not actually really a lot that happens in the present. Like, you know, we're not usually, being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or something. A lot of our stresses...
I so agree with you.
A lot of our stresses are kind of we're almost looking for them. So there's this part in our brain called the reticular activating system. So, I never realized, pregnant people really existed. And then I got pregnant and I felt like everybody in the world was pregnant because I'd increased its importance. And the more we increase something's importance, the more the reticular activating part of our brain looks for things that back up that. So if I'm constantly telling myself that I'm stupid, I'm a failure, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm whatever, fill in your own self-flagellating term there, we look for evidence that backs that up.
Yes.
So if I'm constantly saying, and one of the ones that I got fed a lot was, you're stupid, and so I would look for things that back that up. And even if I spilled something on the bench or whatever, I'd go into, you're a fucking idiot, you're so stupid, how can you not even do that right? And it was that constancy. But of course, the more I thought that, the more I looked for instances that would prove that to me. And once I started realizing that, well, hang on a minute, that's not quite right, all of a sudden those instances started to dissipate and I started seeing some other proofs coming through because my mindset changed to look for that. And anxiety is a really useful emotion. So if we're walking through the city at night, and we look down a little laneway and we go, oh, that doesn't quite feel right. And we go to a more well-lit path. That's actually our body going, let's stay in the light. It's dark. Let's make ourselves safe.
Yeah.
It's looking out for things that might be dangerous. But when our thoughts are constantly dangerous, when our people around us are dangerous to our well-being, when anything is a threat to our being, and our anxiety is on high alert all the time, that's when there's something malfunctioning.
Yes.
And that's when we need to start looking at what is causing those malfunctions.
Yes.
Now, it can be really challenging for kids at school because we can't always change their environment because the school is the school. But this is where we can put in some things outside of school that will support them and give them those tools to deal with the fact of understanding, whoa, hang on, what's actually activating this signal in me right now? Why am I not feeling safe? What is happening right now? Is it the thought process? Is it the people I'm around? Is it the environment? Is it whatever? Oh, okay. Because as soon as we start self-reflecting, we actually come into a greater place of healing. And it's the same with depression. Okay, what is that repetitive thought? I actually tell clients often to just stop for a minute and breathe and ask themselves what age they are then.
Yeah.
How old are you right now?
Yeah.
Now, for me, a regular age that I will go back to is 28.
Right.
It was one of the least safe times I felt in my life. And I had some really shitty behaviours back then because I didn't know how to behave. I didn't know, I just wasn't in touch with myself. And I didn't really have anyone around me to guide me. I was very alone in the world at that point. And so I will often go back to that age and I'm like, oh, that old chestnut, here we go again. What did I need back then?
Yeah.
I needed connection. I needed somebody who loved me. I needed to be seen. I needed to be heard. I needed to be understood. Whatever it is that I needed. And then me as current me with all the tools I've got gives that to that part of myself.
Yes.
With compassion, with love. With knowing that I now know what I needed then.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that part that I've been feeling about disappears and dissipates because I've got what I need.
Yes.
And so sometimes you might get, I'm 4. Well, why are you depressed at 4? Well, I told, I don't know, my parent what I wanted and they didn't listen to me. Now, sometimes that's for our own good, but as an egoic child, we just think the world's against us because everything's about us.
Egotistical maniacs.
They're supposed to be. That's
oh my God!
point.
No, I'm not saying it as a bad thing.
Absolutely.
I'm saying it as that is a fact.
Yeah.
Because you cannot learn and reconnect with your soul in the most loving and deeply connected way unless you're detached from it for a little bit. So it's almost like that's part of what we do, is
the individuality.
you've got to have the personality take over for a while, because then the personality starts to feel it out and goes, oh, I can't do this on my own because it's not working out for me.
Yeah.
But children are egotistical maniacs.
And they have to be, absolutely. Well, and I completely agree. And I think there's that ego part of them that goes, it's all about me, which is what it is at that age. It is all about them.
It needs to be. How do you get to the age of 18, 21 when you're... So can I then ask, so let's talk about teen years then, because obviously you're an egotistical maniac. That probably starts wearing off around, 11, 12, like even younger for some children. But I would say, in my own experience, is up until about 9, 10, kids are quite really heavily egotistically driven. And then there's this like changeover period. I'm kind of feeling like, and this is completely new, is it then that there's that transition, because then they go from having, really child brain, bit more cognitive ability in their teen years, because, we place all this responsibility on teenagers when actually they don't have a full cognitive working brain until their early 20s.
Yes, it's about 26, I think, that their brain starts to solidify a bit more, according to some of the research I've read. It's around the age of 26, which is crazy.
Which is mental. I've read anywhere from 23.
24, what the hell?
I know.
What does my brain do?
But I have read anywhere from 23 to sort of mid-20s is when your brain has this switching point.
Yes.
So... is that, because, I've got a lot of kids that are just not in a coping mode.
Yeah.
Is that part of it? Because we're asking them and we're handing them responsibility. I mean, we can't even get into that side of it, but we're handing them a lot more responsibility about personal choices now.
And they don't have the ability, they don't have it hormonally, they don't have it emotionally, they don't have it psychologically, they don't have it mentally, they don't have it on so many levels of their body.
And physically, those poor things, I don't know about you, I remember being a teenager and going through all the physical changes and even looking in the mirror and thinking, I can distinctly remember at 18 looking in the mirror and thinking, has it stopped now? And then looking in the mirror when I was in my 40s and thinking, oh, it's never stopping.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Finally got that.
Yes.
But, 20 years on, it took me a long time. So then how challenging would it be to be a teenager today in that?
It's interesting. So there's two main kind of, I guess, life cycles that I personally refer to in my work. And one is that 7-year cycle, which a lot of people know about. But then there's millennium cycles, which is about 13-year cycles.
Yeah.
And I find that those, and I haven't learned this, I've learned this through people. So I'm not the biggest expert, and I'm just going to put that out there. But from what I generally know and what I work with, the 7-year cycle, so around the age of 7 is when our children separate their energy field from us. Yes. So around 7 to 8, and I call this very lovingly the arsehole phase, because they push every boundary known to man, because they actually don't know where they end and other people begin, because they've been part of their mother's energy field for so long. So that's where they start getting more conscious awareness of themselves as an individual.
Yeah. 3 children.
Yeah. And then around the age of 14 used to be when, women were in the red tents and becoming initiated into womanhood, and men were being initiated into manhood. And there was, this rite of passage happening around the age of 14, roughly. Then at 21, and this is why we give kids at 21 keys, is because they were then handed the training from older people in the tribe to unlock their unique spiritual gifts. It was to unlock whatever their spiritual gifts were, whether it was clairvoyance or clairaudience or claircognizance. It was developed within the tribe, and an elder would take over their initiation into owning their spiritual gifts and developing those in a way that was productive for the tribe.
Yeah.
Now, running alongside those are 13-year cycles. And the first 13 years is where we develop the feminine aspect of ourselves. So that's where the play and the creativity and all of those hidden emotional sides come come through. And so that's where kids do get those massive emotions that they don't know what to do with because they haven't developed the masculine container in which to hold them. Then the next 13-year cycle is developing the masculine aspect of self. So that's more your logic and your control. And so this is where we see some of that teenage anger coming out, because that's the shadow aspect of the masculine. That's the immature masculine. So we see a lot of that kind of thing, and the power control and the struggle and all of that sort of thing. Then our next 13 years, so between 26 and 39, is where we meld the two and we learn how to balance our masculine and feminine within ourselves, and we work a lot on that. And the reason they say life begins at 40, and you see a lot of change going on in people from late 30s to early 40s, the reason we say life begins at 40 is because at the age of 40 we click over into knowledge of self. So we start to understand ourselves. Then at 52 we go into knowledge of others for that next 13-year cycle. And because I'm not past that yet, I don't actually know what comes after that.
But I can attest to the 40 though.
Yeah.
There's definitely something that happened around then. And when I learned about the 13 cycles, I was like, wow, that doesn't explain a lot. But yeah, once I hit 40, I was suddenly just much more in myself and really incredibly self-aware. Yeah. And you can see all of that. Well, no wonder like teenagers are really struggling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just completely challenged with what's happening now, because, and I often say this, teenagers themselves they've got enough going on without us adding more stuff to it. Yeah. Like I don't think they need to be responsible for their health or how to nourish their bodies or decisions to make around that. But at the same time, if they haven't got conscious and responsible adults around them, then that certainly makes
and sometimes even when they do have conscious and responsible adults around them, they still think they know better, and therefore they will force their will. I'm just saying I don't believe they've got all
conscious adults around them in that case. But if you've got a teenager that has all people around them that are pretty conscious and wanting to look after them, the ride's going to be a lot smoother for them, because they're only just having to figure out their own shit and not try and figure out other people's. So I do because we can keep going on and on. I was loving it though. But then, because I can feel your passion that comes through, but I want to ask, what attracted you to it? Because you haven't,
for me, I had been suffering with my health for a long time.
Okay.
I had 13 days a month where I was suffering with my menstrual cycle. I would have about 6 days when I was ovulating, and then about 7 days roughly. And I remember charting it, going, is there any time I feel normal? Because I had then 7 days around my actual bleed where it was horrific. And I was so full of emotion because I'd suppressed so much through my lifetime. There was no out for anything.
Yeah.
And I had chosen things or relationships that perhaps weren't in my highest good.
Yep.
Because conditioning sort of showed me that it was quite normal. Conditioning comes in from lots of different places. It's not just our family of origin. It is from society. It is from teachers. It is from friends. It's from all over the place. So,
absolutely.
Yes, a lot of it comes through our family because they're the people that we have the most contact with, but it's not just them. It comes in all angles for us. And what happens is we kind of pick up the bits that resonate with us and are our lessons to learn. And then, at some point, well, I certainly had no choice but to go and start sorting those lessons out. And so I just, there was one particular event that happened that pushed me to breaking point. I believed I was completely and utterly broken. And I went and got a mental health plan from a doctor because I honestly believed that there was something seriously wrong with me, that I was a horrible human being, that I didn't deserve to be here, that I didn't deserve any decent relationships, that my life was, basically not really worth living. And I'd been pushed to that edge, regularly and often, and oftentimes the person who was pushing me to the edge would tip me over the edge and then basically tell me it was all my fault. So it wasn't the healthiest of places for me to be. Now, when I actually had the bravery to go and get the mental health plan, I'd named a psychologist that I knew did mindfulness work and assertiveness courses and all this kind of stuff.
Brilliant.
And so I rang them to book in, and they're like, well, we can't get you an appointment. I think this was in the middle of April.
Okay.
And they couldn't get me in with the psychologist until the middle of May, and then the mindfulness course didn't start till the end of May. And the lady behind the phone obviously heard it and said, so just give me a general idea of what's going on for you. And I said, gave him a bit of a rundown on what was going on. And then she said, and who's got your back?
Yeah.
And that was it. I just crumbled, because I'm like, I fall over and everything crashes, because I've got nobody behind me holding me up. Nobody.
Yep.
There was nothing. And I just broke down on the phone, and she said, it sounds like you're under a bit of stress. I've got a couple of other professionals here if you're interested. One's a Reiki person and one does kinesiology. And I'm like, oh, the last person I had Reiki from wanted something from me in return.
Oh.
So it was a really interesting exchange. Like, I love Reiki now, but it did put me off for a long while. And so I said, fine, book me in with the kinesiologist. I just need help. I don't know what the hell that is. But I'm willing to try anything right now.
Yeah, and that's what happened. Yep.
And that was on the 24th of April, 2015. Mm-hmm. And funnily enough, I was sitting in my first class. I think it was around the 24th of October, whatever the weekend was, in 2015 for my first class, studying it, because I went, if I can help one person the way she's helped me,
then it's worth it.
Then I am doing what I'm here for. And that was it. It changed my life completely. I have changed the way I think about myself, the way I think about others. It has helped me forgive. It has helped me get rid of blame and guilt, and it's helped me to understand, why everything happened. My story is by no means unique at all. I've heard so many different versions. The only reason it's unique for me is because it happened for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really do believe it happened for me and not to me, because it has led me down this path where I do truly love myself now. I am living this life that I never dreamed I could live.
Yeah.
I am with a partner who loves and respects me and is kind to me. And when he sees me struggle, comes up and, do you want me to make you a pot of tea, or do you need a bath, or how about you go and have a bath, or I'm going to go start running you a bath because you're not fucking listening to me and you really need some time out. For you. In you go.
That's good. And that's really important, is to be in receiving in life.
Yeah.
And when you are doing everything for everyone, and I don't want to say this is just a women's issue, because it's not. No. It's a people issue, and like, there's this idea around looking after yourself and what that looks like, and it's not just going to a kinesiologist or getting a massage or getting your nails done or getting your hair done or whatever. And they're all great things, but there is something really beautiful when you can receive. And just receive, not for any kind of benefit or exchange. That's been and I'm still learning that myself. That's been one of my challenging, is to receive when I don't see what's behind it. Yeah. I can just receive the magic in the moment, or the gift, or the love, whatever it is, and just be in receiving. That's definitely a challenge,
because it's receiving is that feminine aspect of self, and we've been taught to distrust the feminines, for the last 2,000 to 4,000 years of patriarchy.
Oh God, please go back even further.
It was around 2,000 to 4,000 years ago that they separated God and bring the fear in and all of that sort of stuff. Before then, we were living in matrifocal societies, and there's a fabulous book on it called The Cosmic Mother or something like that. If you search that, I'm sure you'll find it. I can't remember the exact. I can see the book in my head, but the Cosmic Mother goes through all of the history of it, and the sources that can be found, because of course a lot of those sources were lost, or have just been in verbal stories. But it's quite interesting when we look at that, and that separation and the demonization of the feminine. And so receptivity, being one of the feminine traits, is not seen as powerful or as necessary or anything like that. So sitting in receptivity is a challenge for all of us. Now, when I am when I'm doing well, bring it on, baby, give, Yeah. Because the more I can receive, the more I can give without that resentment, without, anger, without being pissed at everybody for taking what I got. And a lot of the time I do sit in that quite naturally now. It's taken a lot of work, and it's been very confronting. And then when I'm not doing so well, that's when it falls apart. And like I say, my partner is, has to step in, or doesn't have to step in, but knows to step in.
That's part of partnership.
Yeah, exactly. And, and I'm able to do the same, which is lovely. So it's just such a different way of being. But kinesiology kind of just led me down that path. And, by 2017, I think in that year I did total body modification, which is, it's kind of like kinesiology, but it's works with all the systems of the body, and it's really fascinating, very scientific. I get a bit geeky with that one. I did TBM, I did my Reiki 1 and 2. I also did advanced hormones and glands. I did quantum neurology, which are like advanced kinesiology modules on anxiety and depression, and how the brain chemistry works and how the hormonal system works.
Yep.
I did another advanced techniques course, and I started my advanced diploma in kinesiology 6 months before I finished my actual diploma. So in that year of 2017, I think I did 26 weekends at school equivalent, which was full on and perhaps a little much. But that was only my, into my sort of second year of study. And I cleared mountains. In addition to that, I was seeing about 4 or 5 different kinesiologists at different points. I was seeing my naturopath. I had, a few other people that I would see regularly. So it was like I was on warp speed, clear this shit out because you've got to get your work into the world kind of mode.
Yeah.
Now, I don't highly recommend that for anybody, actually, unless it really, really calls you. I didn't feel like it was choice.
Yes.
It was me being driven by something much, much greater than me. So I did clear through a lot of stuff that year. And then in 2018, I kind of put the brakes on. And now I sort of go between, warp speed and slow down, and warp speed and slow down. And I'm my big lesson now is coming into much more balance. So I'm not going warp speed and then, hibernation. Yeah. I can get this nice balance in the middle somewhere. And it is coming. But that's kind of that work in progress right now.
Yeah, we're kind of at the opposite end. I'm good. Like I that's what I've been working on, is having that balance between going nuts and because it can be tiring for me anyway.
Yeah.
And having to literally just shut off the world. And don't get me wrong, that's the really healthy thing to do, is to just to go, you know what? I'm good. I'm actually taking a day. I'm just going to take a knee and I'm going to do my own thing. But for mine is receiving. Yeah. So I'm still in that learning phase of, fully being in receiving mode. So, it's, I love this. I love that the journeys that being of service takes you down, because, you've also done, but you also do coaching as well.
Yes.
So you've gone from kinesiology, and then what led you into the coaching? Because that's business coaching, isn't it?
Well, look, I
mean, it's personal, but
it doesn't matter. I guess it's the same thing that we were saying before about the meat body being 4% of the picture. It actually doesn't matter which area of your life you come to me for, because everything's going to change. If you come to me for business stuff, your personal life will change.
Yep.
Your relationship with your children will change. The way that you interact with the world will change.
Yes.
And so, or if you come to me because you're, suffering physically, all of those things will change anyway.
100%.
And so I very much see that interconnection between everything. So yes, I do work with a lot of business people and entrepreneurs. And I also work with a lot of people who, you know, who aren't on that path, and who will probably never go on that path. I work with a lot of mothers. I work with a lot of, you know, young people in their 20s. I work with a lot of teenagers, so I kind of have people across the spectrum. You know, I've got a couple of really, you know, high up business people as well that come to me, and one could not hit this 7-figure target they had for themselves, and we cleared a few blocks last year with that in mind, and he hit it in December. So it was like, yes, you know, so it really depends. But the archetypal life coaching, funnily enough, I had an opportunity to do it back in 2017. Why she didn't? Yeah, funnily enough. Because I've got this girlfriend, and the two of us seem to come across the same books or very similar books at the same time, and we're on this really parallel path. And she was going to do this coaching, and I was like, oh God, it sounds amazing, but I've just signed up to do my advanced diploma in Kinesi, and I was like, oh. So anyway, I think it was at the end of, or it was in 2020 during one of our big lockdowns, which I don't even know which one because I lost count. But I went and did the 1-day course, and then I went, I've got to do this. And my partner's like, oh God, you know, here you go. Can't you just, you know, just sit with what you know at the moment? And I'm like, no, I am the eternal student. And so I signed up because the archetypes have played into my life heavily for a long time. And this is a very different way of learning the archetypes. So it is based on ancient priestess philosophy.
Yep.
It is very heavily based in the symbolism. Mm-hmm. And it's phenomenal the way that we look at those archetypes. And I did the level 1 in 2020, and last year I did level 2. So I'm a qualified archetypal life coach now. So we do masculine and feminine coaching. We work with passion and purpose. We work with the archetypes of abundance and love, and all sorts of different ways of sort of balancing those different aspects within people,
beautiful.
which is fabulous. It's done so much. And funnily enough, next Wednesday, I'm actually driving up to the New South Wales Queensland border to do the in-person level 2.
Great.
So I've got February, April and June. And we actually learn some of these techniques with horses, because horses are so incredible at reading your subconscious.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so we actually learn how to do some of the coaching with horses. So I am just beyond excited, not only because I'm going to have like a, whatever it is, 18 hours in the car on my own with just me. There will have to be a notebook next to me.
I record stuff now when I'm driving.
Oh yeah,
like
that'll be that. It'll,
you know, I just start, this thought. I've got this.
Oh yeah, it'll come through. Because my second book's already coming through. So it's pretty amazing. And I can't wait to do that. But it just gets you to understand yourself in such deeper ways, and to be able to see how you're interacting with the world, where you're sitting in shadow, where you're needing to bring in more light. It's changed my world. It's been amazing. So it's changed the way I mother. It has changed the way I work. It has changed everything. And I think it's why I'm so non-reactive now.
Yeah, because when you continually come home to yourself, and however, you know, that path is, you know, you're led down, there's something about coming home that just makes things calmer. Yeah. And even, you know, I like a bit of chaos. I do. I like that. I like a bit of mischievousness. I do. I like that a lot. I like surprises. I didn't used to like surprises. Being an ex-control freak, that's a bit challenging to be surprised when you're a control freak. But it's a beautiful place to be when you can come home to yourself, and however you get there. Yeah. Absolutely. However it gets you there, keep going until you feel at home. Yeah. You know, in your own skin.
And even when you feel at home and in your skin, I mean, for me, I don't think there's ever going to be a time that I'm not learning, growing, changing, evolving, learning a new way of looking at things, learning a new layer to unpeel, wanting a deeper understanding of myself, of others, and of my connection with God and universal source and unconditional love. Like, for me, there isn't an end point. You know, I'm not Jesus yet. I'm not, you know, as much as I shouted at God to either help me create things out of nothing and become Jesus or get rid of me off this earth, you know, it might have been a bit harsh. You know, I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to be able to do the loaves and fishes. I'm not going to be Buddha under the tree, you know, so I'm always going to have something else to learn.
What a bummer.
Which is awesome. I love it.
And you know,
that's why I'm here.
I've often said that I don't ever want to get to a point in my life where I think I know.
Oh God, no.
I don't ever want to get to that point. I like the fact that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know a shit ton.
Yeah.
I know a lot about what I do.
Yeah.
And that's great. You know a lot about what you do, and we can help serve a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. But there's so much that's like this much for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's this tiny little like tennis ball shape, but then like the rest of it that's around.
Yeah.
I'm like, and always learning.
And the more I know, the more I know I don't know. And therefore the more I want to know. And this is part of the eternal student part of me. It's my archetype of the sage. It's just, I want to know, and I want to teach what I know, and then I want to learn more, and then I want to understand more, and, you know, find more resources for that, and then teach that.
Yep.
And keep that information or keep that knowledge and wisdom growing and flowing.
Yep.
And changing the world, because, you know, the more people that can tap into love rather than fear, the better off we're going to be as a whole society.
Absolutely. I do agree on most. I mean, for me, fear is a really beautiful emotion. I actually love it. However, when we tap into, it's almost like there's a dual side to love where it's dulled. You know, when you tap into that side of it where it's just not, you know, where you're not well, connection is one of our other primary needs. And if you're not connected to self, then you can't be connected to other people.
You can only receive as much love as you can give yourself.
100%. And yeah, and for whatever people's beliefs are, whether it's, you know, like not at all, energy is it's proven. It's proven time and time again. It's the energy of our conversation, which would have been vastly different had we had done it on Zoom, for example. But here we are in person, and it's gone completely off. I've not asked many of my questions, but here we are having an amazing, very authentic conversation, which we know will serve, which we know honours what we've learned and what we can share, and it's deeply connected as well. And that's energy, you know, that's what it does. So whether it is your belief in God or the divine, or, you know, you believe in sciences, whatever it is, there is definitely an energy that surrounds all of it. And, you know, whatever you feed just keeps growing. So when you feed, you know, the higher side of fear, that's going to keep growing. I mean, we've been in that for 2 years.
Oh, I know.
We've definitely been in that. And I know for many people that are of service and in healing, it's been definitely, look, it's a swallow. It's every time I swallow it, I'm saying something like, that's the truth. Yeah. It's been an enormously challenging time because we've had to really rise more and more into ourselves. Yeah. I want to ask you, because I'm going to go off questions and I've got on my page. I did it! I've asked 2 so far. Maybe 3. No, 2. No, 3 I've asked. That's it. I'm impressed, actually. I'm really impressed. Up there. I want to know, why is mindfulness in business important?
It's interesting. As much as we talk about mindfulness, I rarely use that word, weirdly.
What is the word you would use then?
Oh, okay. So there's probably a couple. My highest value is actually self-mastery.
Yep.
And so the more I know myself, the more I will understand and have compassion and empathy for other people.
Yeah.
Because I will be able to see anything we can see in anybody else exists in us. So if we, you know, there's that big thing that's, you know, been around for years at the moment, and it's, you know, always in our face between narcissists and empaths. Well, we can only see narcissism because it belongs in us, you know, and we have it. And the only reason we can see empathy is if it belongs in us. The only reason we can see negativity and drama and all of that is because we have that. Whether we're feeding it or not is another thing. It exists in us. And so for me, that's why self-mastery is there. I want to know my inner shit. I want to know my inner shadows, because the more I understand those less shiny aspects of myself, the more I can choose to use them for good.
Yes.
To use them in a loving way, or to understand when they raise their head and they're actually going to hinder me, and I can still with love sort of, put them in the back seat and not let them drive and touch the controls.
Yes.
So that's where I guess I take that, and with that self-mastery becomes learning to be present, learning to look at what is necessary. One of our big numbing behaviours is busy. We busy so that we don't actually have to do anything or achieve anything. We busy to numb ourselves. It's the same as we drink or online shop or overeat or scroll through socials or whatever the hell it is. We're doing it to numb ourselves because we don't want to feel. We don't want to feel what we're going through, or we think those feelings are going to last forever. We're trying to numb something. And so a lot of people don't want to be in the present because they're afraid of the present. And actually, the more they learn to be there, the more they're like, it's actually not the present that's the issue. It's all of the thoughts that I'm creating, either in, worrying about the future or ruminating on the past. And anything that we do can be great. So we can think about the future and it can be really, really wonderful. We can think about the past and we can have regrets, and they can still be really, really positive experiences. It's when we sit in them and wallow that becomes the issue.
When we visit for too long.
When
you just visit there for way too long. It's only meant to be a quick trip moment, have a look, come back. Yes.
Yeah. And so it's kind of increasing those aspects of presence, of not putting so much into our business that we're becoming unbalanced. Because oftentimes, and this is where I'm at with my all or nothing kind of thing, is I get into something and it's not that I'm doing it to the exclusion of all things, but it's like once I open the floodgate, that channel is open and it comes through. Like my 50,000 words was written in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And handed to my editor. And it was like, whoa. And it just flooded in because I opened the floodgate for it.
Yes.
And that last day of writing, I got woken up at 4:30 a.m. and I'm like, screw this, I'm going back to sleep. And my whole body was going, no, you're not.
So we're not going back to sleep. No.
And so I went down and I wrote, and then I took the dog for the walk, and then I went home and I finished writing. And I think by about 2 or 3 o'clock that day, I'd handed it over to my editor. Then 2 days later, I did write another about 4,500 words. And then on the Monday, I wrote about another 1,500, and then promised her I wouldn't send her anything else, and didn't. But it was like I just got that real push.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes when I'm in that creative flow, I have to surrender to that.
Yeah.
And in amongst those, I will also then have days where there's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that flow, and I'm learning those days of real inspired action, and I'm learning those days where I'm percolating. The difference is I'm trying to learn the difference between percolating and procrastinating. And I do help other people to sort of tap into that within themselves. Am I, walking around kind of half-assed doing jobs because I'm trying to put off what I actually need to do? Or in doing that half-assed action, am I actually, creating ideas in the background and ruminating on things and actually opening the channels for that creativity to come through?
Okay.
So that self-mastery comes in with learning the discernment of which one am I doing.
Yes.
And it's an energetic thing. So again, feeling into your body. So we need to learn to feel into our body and know our truth.
Amen, sister.
To be able to feel that. And so, so it's all that sort of stuff. So I know that's a really long answer to a really short question.
No, but it's good because you're talking about awareness.
It's layered.
And having, but it is.
So layered.
And I love that because I put it down knowing I don't talk about mindfulness with my clients either. I talk about awareness.
Yeah.
And it's aware. Yes. And it's about, oh God, it's all of that.
Yeah.
And so, mindfulness has been a great little catch cry, that we've put out there as a great marketing tool. But the reality is it does not capture the actual need.
I find it doesn't go far enough. There's so many layers. I think, or I haven't found a teacher anyway that takes it deep enough for me. So and that's just me. And if anyone wants to send me some, that's great. I'm always happy to learn. But from what I've seen, it always kind of touches that surface, and I'm always going, I want more. I want more. And that's part of my personality as well. And so I like those deeper ways of looking into it. Why am I not being present? What's stopping me from doing it? Not just what are the thoughts I'm having, but what's the deeper aspects to it. And so I want the iceberg, not just the little cube at the top.
Absolutely. And I love those moments where suddenly my iceberg will flip. Have those moments of going, oh my God, oh wow, oh that happened, and then it'll flip around. You're like, okay, now now you can add more, you can build more, you can. I love that. I do. So then I want to move on to being, what does heart-centered and open-hearted mean in business?
For me, it means everything. Funnily enough, the more I'm in business and the more I am very aware of the energy that people have behind their businesses. So there are a lot of people I followed a few years ago that now I don't follow. There are a lot of people that were, sort of, I'd keep an eye on, that are now center stage, that I do watch a lot. So it's really about authenticity. And I know that word's thrown around a lot, but I'm talking words and actions fully in alignment.
Yes.
It is living your purpose, not just spruiking your wares. And it's going really deeply into connection with clients, with other people. I think I said it before, the rising tide raises all the boats. If we are there supporting each other and working in community, oneness, that is massive. And that's going to benefit everybody who comes in contact with that. Now, yes, we are in business to earn money. But when we are in our lower vibration, money is an exchange, and that's all it is. When we are in our higher vibration and our ascension frequency, money is an amplifier. So the more money I earn, the more money I can use to amplify other people's business, to take my message further out into the world, to help more people. And that's a growing thing. That helps to feed what everybody else needs as well, and it helps to raise them up and give them a decent living so they can put a roof over their children's head and feed them. Another way I look at it with money, and I love this has changed my life, by the way, is when I go and buy my coffee in the morning, rather than it just being I'll hand them money and then they hand me my drink or chai, usually it's an almond chai, but my money now, when I hand it over, is helping pay for the coffee machine and the people who make the almond milk and grow the almonds and, make the packet that the almond milk comes in, and the people who make grow all of the ingredients for the chai and the people who produce it, and everybody in the supply chains and everybody who makes the coffee machine, and keeping the people who own the coffee shop in business and putting a roof over. So now all of a sudden, instead of being just, money for drink, I am being fucking amazing and supporting all of these people's lives, and the people who make the cup and work in the factory where the cup is made and the lids are made, and how many lives am I impacting with my one chai or one coffee or one whatever the hell I buy from them? I'm helping everybody in that process, supply chain, manufacturing, raw materials, everything. So that is an amplifying way to look at money, is how far, it might only be $6 for me, but I am impacting thousands of people with that one transaction. Now, if you can change your idea of money to that, then paying your bills becomes, oh my God, how awesome am I? I'm helping keep all these people in jobs. And like, it's such a different way to look at things. And when people pay me, they're also helping keep all of those people that I buy my chai from and who create my chai. They're also helping keep all of those people in jobs, and they're keeping a roof over my kid's head, and all of the things that I then have to do for my life, they are helping support.
And that's heart connection, isn't it? Because it helps you understand that you're so deeply connected. I do a practice with clients around gratitude. When I buy my coffee and I say thank you, I have a line of vision of what you're talking about. I'm saying thank you to everyone. Thank you for everyone for participating in getting my cup of coffee to me. And then I'm sending, and so I accept their thanks back. So at the time that I'm giving it, I also receive it back and say, you're welcome. So you're welcome for me doing this. You know, because it's that give and take. But it's amazing, you know, when I buy pens, this one's got an eraser on it. And when I got it, I literally went into a bit of a prayer mode. Going, thank you so much for inventing that.
Although I will tell you something about those pens. If you put your hot pot of tea on your diary,
they don't like it.
No, they really don't like it, and then you can't see what's written in your diary for ages. But apparently, then I learned that if you put it in the freezer, it all comes back. Thank God, because I had a massive panic that day.
And they come with a refill as well, which I made sure that I found ones with a refill so that I didn't have to throw out the whole pen. I have discovered that before when I put my tea and then next to it, and then I got half of the words and then I thought I'll just blow on it so it cooled out and it started to come back, so I was like, woo, thank you. But yes, hot doesn't go with the razor ball
anyway.
Oh my God, but that's heart-centered as well, because you've got to be human in your moments and to have a laugh at things. But I love that. We've got a very similar practice in that way. And I promise, if you guys start to do it, every time you hand money over or, you know, accept someone, say thank you. And when you're thanking them, just imagine for a moment everyone that created this one thing. And then at the same time you say you're welcome.
It's such a beautiful practice.
You're doing what you do. Like I actually never thought about what the impact was when I was saying you're welcome. So I was like, you're welcome. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm actually like saying I'm thanking myself too for participating in this connection. Because we've got this idea that we're like independent. Call them bullshit on that one. Because we're not. We're interdependent, and my life can't be the same without you in it, and vice versa. Everyone that's created all the things around me, I'm grateful for, because they went to work. They got up. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without the support of people getting out of their beds every day and going and doing what they do. I just could not have the life that I have.
Absolutely.
You know, I buy a pair of shoes and I'm like, man, that's a lot of people that I'm supporting. And you know what, I have had the people argue back that say it's not equal, and I'm like, and I absolutely feel you there. If we can work on the reciprocity first, then we can start to see that dissolve.
But that's that,
the inequity
that's that rising tide again. You know, the more we support and the more we lift up, the more we support and the more we lift up. And that becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. And so, yes, things are really unequal right now. And, you know, I've been called out for being privileged, goodness knows how many times. And I'm like, whoa, okay, you know, white skin, I get it. I am in a lot of ways. And I've also suffered in a lot of ways. And a lot of what we're talking about is privilege. However, the more we can do to learn and to raise others up, the more that will even out. The more that does even out. The more we can support, the more we can support. It's and that's the way I look at it. I'm trying to be that rock in the pond, that those ripples go as far afield as possible.
Yeah, I love a ripple effect. Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know, you're right. And I think we need to look at the inequalities. We need to look at that. They've shown that one of the best ways to get rid of a lot of the issues in the world right now is education and increasing education and all of that sort of stuff. So how do we educate?
Educate from an internal perspective, though. This
Yeah.
isn't about doing your maths
Yeah.
and English. This is about allowing people to come home to themselves, to be able to have self-reflection, to be able to feel the hard stuff, to be able to feel guilty when they've done something shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that was shit. Okay, right, don't do that again because
can
I
I
didn't
learn
like
from
it.
that?
Yeah, what would I do differently not to feel shit? I've actually worked with teens around that, and they're hilarious because they're like, so you don't want to feel crap, then what did you do that got you feeling crap?
Yeah.
What was your responsibility in that? And then what can you do differently next time? And seeing their faces, they're like, I get a say in that. And you're like, yes, I do. All right. So I've got 3 final what's for you.
Yes.
What is well-being to you?
Well-being is a holistic idea of me as a human and my health.
Okay. So what are your must-do daily well-being practices?
There's a daily check-in on, I guess, what I'm feeling, what my state is, and therefore what I can achieve for that day. So, you know, it's almost like giving myself a mark out of 100 and working out what I've got to spend and therefore what I'm going to have left at the end of the day. And if the maths doesn't add up, then I need to change what I've got to do in the day.
Okay.
So life is not a balance sheet, but it's the closest thing I can kind of do is I've got this much energy. Where does it need to go? What do I have to do? And, you know, if I don't have the energy, what needs to drop off?
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
And how can I end the day with more energy than I've got right now?
Yes. Beautiful. And so then what impact does giving your well-being have on your life?
Oh my God. I actually don't believe there's any words for that one. Because
it's not measurable, is it?
I know what my life was before and I know what my life is now. And there was a definite, you know, pre-post. There was a definite death and probably death many times over in there of who I was and in who I'm becoming. And there will probably be many more of those deaths to come in terms of, you know, ending those cycles. And so it really does feel immeasurable to be able to quantify in the words that we have available to us in 3D language. It goes so much further.
I think, to me, it's always been life-changing. The more I focus on my well-being, mind, body, soul, it continually changes and transforms my life.
Because the more in alignment we are.
Yes. This has been a delicious conversation.
It has been wonderful.
You know, if you've watched on YouTube, then we've been talking to each other and we've shared.
we are
completely with you. But, you know, this is what I love about these connected conversations is I'm not following the rules of an interview. I like, you know, that we're talking to each other. I want you to be part. It's almost like I want you to be sitting in your lounge room, and even if you're listening and just listening, like you're part of this conversation because you are. And I would absolutely, if something's piqued your interest, and I will pop the details to get in contact with Kate, part of the blurb. And so in there, there'll also be a little frame after this if you're watching on YouTube, and that will show up so that you can do it there as well.
Lovely.
It has been really beautiful, and if something sparks your interest, then please go and take this conversation from out of here and into another group that you're meeting up with or a friend, and mention it to them. Kinesiology, healing, coaching. And also we want to mention there is a book, I'll mention it in the blurb. It's The Divine Messy Human. Absolutely amazing. There's no that at the start of it, I just said it like that. Beautiful, really excited. The book's coming out on the 22nd of the 2nd, so by the time this is out, you will have access to find the book. So Kate will absolutely send me the link, and we'll pop it on there so they can click and get that as well. Excellent. This has been an amazing conversation. I've loved it. and you know, and to listen and to witness someone who really is embodying themselves, particularly as a feminine leader at the moment, is absolutely amazing. It's been beautiful to sit with you and to feel that, and to feel how connected you are to yourself and how in your body you are. Yes. And you know what, if this is raised and you felt uncomfortable around it, then that to me is a really great marker to go forward and to keep finding yourself home. So thanks so much for sharing a beautiful time with us today in this connected conversation, and I will definitely see you next time. And of course I'm definitely going to have Kate back on. We're going to have more to talk about. Love to see comments. Please like, please share, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again. To connect with Amanda, please head to www.amandakate.com.au. To connect with me, head to emmamuir.com. Enjoy your day, and thanks for sharing your time.